All right, so we're starting cluster C, third unit. This unit is on equations. So you've done equations in sixth grade. You did one-step equations then. You did multi-step equations last year in seventh grade. We got to add a little bit more to it. Have to do some equations with variables on both sides eventually. To start with for today, a review, kind of do like you did in seventh grade with equations. So if I have parentheses, what does that mean I do? Multiply the number that's in. So in this case, my 8 is getting multiplied by 2g and the minus. So 8 times 2g, 16, 8 times. And there's nothing more for me to do there. Just keep it that way. You distribute. If there's two things in the questions on that, if there's a negative, like number 2 here, you follow your rules for negatives. 3. All right, so we're distributing a negative 5. When we distribute, it gets multiplied by both parts. So negative 5 times 13 makes negative 65d. Negative 5 times the 11 then, 55. Usually what you'll see though is just minus 55. Brian said plus a negative 55. That's the same thing, but this is how it would look on a part. So in this case, we've got negative times a negative, so that makes a positive 4m. Then we've got a negative and a negative, minus and a negative in this case, meaning the same thing. So that makes a positive 32 there. Any questions on that? Distributing, you started distributing in sixth grade. With negative and stuff, was do some equations with those. Those aren't equations. Other thing, when you combine like terms, Variables that are the same can be combined. Variables that a variable and a non-variable cannot be combined. But when you combine them, you just do exactly like the math shows. You use the sign that's in front of the number. So I've got 13r plus 5r. So 13 plus 5 makes an 18r. I also got that plus 2n. There's nothing I can combine with it. I would need another n to combine with it. Since nothing to combine with it, leave it as is. I didn't feel like doing, so that's why 4 and 5. No. Yeah, that was 8 though. All right, so the negative 1k and the negative 12k, we both have minuses. Signs are the same. That means you add and keep the signs. We got a negative 13k, and we got the plus 16. All right, so number 8, a little bit trickier. We got two different terms we can combine. So plus 7 and a minus 10. That means we got a minus 3m when we subtract, okay? Then these, they're both positives, so we just add them up. So that makes a 25g. Any questions on that? So when you're combining, you combine terms with different signs, you subtract your number. All right, so we're not just going to be doing that. We're going to be putting all that into equations to solve. Or sixth grade, you had one-step equations. To solve a one-step equation, variable. When something's isolated, it's getting it by itself, okay? So we want to move everything away from the variable. And the way we isolate the variable, inverse operations. Inverse is just a fancy math word for saying opposite. All right, so multiplying then is dividing. You don't need squaring and square roots. Remember, those are inverse operations. Equate. You want to get rid of addition or subtraction before anything else. Use addition or subtraction to remove the constant. So the number without the variable, that's the constant. If it's plus a number, you subtract that number. If it's a number, you add that number. Once you get rid of the constant, you should have a variable with a coefficient, and that's what we're going to try to get. If we end up having a fraction coefficient, and we're going to have to do some of those eventually, when we divide by a fraction, what do you do to divide by fractions? To divide by a fraction, what do we do? Keep, change, flip. We keep the first number, change what it's saying here, and you flip the fraction. It's called the reciprocal of the fraction. So if we happen to divide by a fraction, you do keep, change, flip. All right, any questions on that so far? All this hopefully sounds at least a little bit familiar. Whether you 100% remember how to do it or not, that's different, but should sound familiar. For multiple step equations, which is what we're going to do today, multi-step equations. In this case, we're going to combine like terms, and then so we're not going to do F and B. We'll just do A and G. On A, I combine my like terms first. My like terms are the 8x and the minus 2x. The minus 28 and the minus 10 are not like terms because to be like terms, they have to be on the same side of the equal sign. All right, so if they're on opposite sides of the equal sign, they don't count as like terms. Everybody clear on that? So I just do what it says. 8x minus 2x is 6x. The minus 28 doesn't get combined with anything, and it equals a negative 10. Once I get to this point, I solve by doing opposite. I get rid of addition or subtraction first. I got a minus 28, so that means I do plus 28. I'm doing it to both sides. It cancels it out over there. I got to do the same thing to the other side, so plus 28. So that leaves me with 6x on the left side. I got a minus 10 and a plus 28. The signs are different, so I subtract and use the sign of the bigger number. So that gives me a positive 18. Once I'm there, I divide by my coefficient. Writing it this way is helpful for when we get problems that are fractions, because that helps you to see that the answer would be a fraction or even what the fraction would be. But we got 18 divided by 6, so that means x equals 3. Any questions on that? All right, y'all try G. On G, you got 3 terms you can combine to start with. All right, yeah. The minus 10x and x. If I'm doing it, I generally will combine the positives first and then combine with any negatives. Okay? You don't have to do it that way. You could just go left to right. It doesn't. But if I combine the positives, I got a 7x and a plus 2x. That's 9x. And then I got 9x minus 10x. That makes negative 1x. We still got plus 18. Can't combine that. And it equals negative 5. Now we're trying to get the variable by itself, so we move the addition or subtraction. This one's got addition. So I go minus 18 to each side. So I still got negative 1x equals, the signs are the same. So I got minus 5 and a minus 18. That means we add and keep the sign. So at this point then, I divide by the negative 1. Negative divided by a negative makes that a positive 23. Any questions? On finding like terms? Are different, you subtract and use the sign of the bigger number. So that would still get you a negative 1. Uh, that's kind of a good example of why I would combine the positives first and then do the negatives. Questions? Yeah. So in the way she did it going from left to right, 7 minus 10 is negative 3. Negative 3 plus 2 makes -1. If you do it like the way I said I would do it, I got 7x and 2x. 7x plus 2x makes 9x if I just do the ones with the pluses. And then we still have a minus 10x. So the signs are different. We subtract, use the sign of the bigger number. That gives you -1 also. Okay? All right, so let's add a little more to this then. So what that means is if an equation has parentheses, our first step is to, that means I take whatever is outside the parentheses, in this case -4, and I multiply by both parts on the inside of the parentheses. So everybody good with that step? Any questions on that step? So if there's once you distribute, then you combine any like terms. It's not always necessary to distribute. It's not always necessary to combine like terms. So in this case, my like terms are that -4 and that -8. 24x doesn't have any like terms, so we keep it 24x. I got -4 and -8. Signs are the same, so I add and keep the sign. That makes -12. 4 plus 8. And it equals 12. Everybody good with that part? Then they put that all as one step. They solve the Any questions on that? Going step by step. None of the individual steps are crazy hard to do. They're just easy to make a mistake. There's nothing like difficult math-wise about this. It's just easy to mess up if you're off on your signs a little bit. All right, let's Yeah, 28 is quiet, quiet. Where out of the last was right at the beginning. I saw a lot of people. So instead of adding, we got to distribute. And what we're distributing is just that 2. That 4 that's in front is just like this -8 on the problem before. We got to keep it separate. So when I distribute that 2, I get 2x minus 16. That 4 is still in the front. And it equals 44. Everybody okay? So now we combine like terms. The like terms I can combine are the 4 and the minus 16. The signs are different, so we subtract and use the sign of the bigger number. Well, now we solve by doing opposite. So we got, are you saying the 4? Yeah, so we move it to the other side by doing opposite. So we add 12. So that makes 2x over here because those cancel. 44 plus 12 is 56. And then I divide by 2. And that equals 20. Any questions on that one? All right, like I said, the math part of this is not or should not be difficult. There are a lot of places to mess up if you aren't careful with your signs and what you're doing, though.